Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome co-host here. How you doing, John Ward?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we did Final Destination last week, and
Yep.
this week we are doing Final Destination Part Two or Two or
Yep.
whatever, however you want to call it.
Final
F
Destination 2. Yeah, that's what the credit says.
FD
So
two, you know,
FD2. Yeah.
you
I
know.
I, I did want to show off because I forgot last week my Final Destination collection. I
Oh,
always like showing
nice.
off my stuff. So
That's cool. So it's got all. Is that on DVD or Blu-ray?
it's DVD, but this is what I don't like. They got them all shoved in one
Mm,
thing.
no, because you can scratch the DVD disc like that.
Yeah. And so it's 1 and 2, and then it goes 3 and 4, and then 5 is on a disc by itself. And it's like, son of a bitch, shouldn't the first one be on a disc by itself? That's
Yes.
the good. That's the classic one. But okay, whatever.
Which one's on it
So
by itself?
5, the last one.
Well, I mean, probably they're like, well, there's two each, and then fuck it, the last one.
Well, you know what they did. I mean, just through they released Final Destination by itself, and then when Final Destination 2 finally came out, they said, "Oh well, let's put 1 and 2 on the same disc." And
Mhm.
then it's that whole thing. You see, whenever a sequel comes out, they always do. Here's the 2 pack. Now here's the 3 pack. Now here's the 4 pack. Here's the 5 pack. So they probably already had 1, 2, 3, and 4 already like this, and
Mhm.
they just said, "Well, we can't put anything with 5 unless we just put some
Until
random
until they do
movie."
six. Until they do
Yeah,
six.
and be guaranteed part 6, they'll come out with something like this, and it will say a 6 film collection. So, but I'm very
Exactly.
happy with this. The sound is good, the picture is good. Scared my cats, so
Nice.
that's yeah. They ran
Always a
out of the
plus.
room and things were blowing up. Yeah, but
I am drinking tea out of my trust no one mug. Seems kind of
ah,
fitting. Seems fitting. Um, so okay, we're here to talk about Final Destination 2. And I before we like really dive into it, I want to talk about basically a little background that I heard about this movie. So originally the idea was it was going to be a hotel fire. That was what was going to start. Like it was going to start out as a hotel fire, and and the people are going to die, and then somebody was going to save, that kind of thing. And then they were like, that seems like not that good. Let's let's ask somebody else, or let's ask the creator himself, Jeffrey Reddick, if he had a better idea. And so he told me that he was the one who came up with the logs, because he was driving, to I think maybe to the meeting or something, and he saw a log truck, and he said, I don't want to be behind that. And he goes, that's a good idea for like Final Destination 2. So if you see, like, there's like, I think there might have even been story by credit by Jeffrey Reddick. That's he did the log truck, idea.
well, and I had messaged you saying that there is a connection from this film to what I'm hoping we do next. We may have to push something back so we could do the thing that I would like to do next, because there is a connection. But that my two of my friends knew the guys who wrote the script for this,
Mm,
and they one of my friends was going to Art Center, the other one was going to USC, and they were nerds, and they wrote a script for. Well, I guess I have to say what it is. That it was the butterfly effect, and they got it to somebody who gave it to somebody, and they said, we like it, but we're not going to make it unless we want you to write Final Destination 2. And
right.
so that's why they're credited on this. And then when part 2 was a hit, they were able to go with making the butterfly effect.
Mm,
And from what my friend told me, because I did see a picture of this, is that it's I'm blanking on their names because I was not friends with them. So Jay Mackie Gruber, and Eric Bress. So they were students at Art Center and they were nerds. But
Mhm.
then when the Butterfly Effect came out, because of the type of movie it is, all of a sudden they went all goth. So there were
Mhm.
pictures of them all in like leather with the makeup on, and all of a sudden they were playing the role. So it could look like, yeah, we're like these goth guys who wrote like the Butterfly Effect and like made the Butterfly Effect. And like, no, that's not who they are at all. They were total nerds. And this is obviously what the studio wants them to do. I also did notice that Eric Bress did The Final Destination. He was the writer on that one.
Nice.
So they got him to come back. So
Which is interesting because if you think about the way that it's done, like the director of the first Final Destination also directed the third, and the director of
yeah,
the second also directed the fourth.
yeah. So first film James Wan, second film David R. Ellis, third film James Wong, fourth film David R. Ellis, and then the very last one is Stephen Quayle.
Yeah. So I don't know why James Hong didn't come back or they didn't ask him to come back or whatever for part 5, considering that was a pattern, you know.
Yeah, that one's written by David Hyacer. I'd have to look him up. I'm not entirely. I recognize his name. I think he did something else.
Now I
But
think the guys who did like Feast wrote the new Final Destination 6 that they're trying to do.
oh yeah, the
Or
guys who went
something.
off to go do Saw movies, and they were
Yeah.
originally they during Project Greenlight they were writing a Highlander movie that I guess never happened.
Well, that kind of sucks because that would have been great.
Yeah, it's brought up during the show. They're like, wait, why are they not focusing on the Feast script?
All right, I'm
And
wrong.
and
John Watts did the story for the 6th one, the one that hasn't come out yet or hasn't been even made yet. Some pre-production. So, that's the guy who directed the Spider-Man movies, Homecoming and No Way Home and all that.
oh,
So,
good. So it will make money but have no style.
why you gotta be all like dissing on my movies?
I'm
God.
dissing on the director. I'm not dissing on the film.
I know you're dissing and saying he has no style. Jesus, I
He
thought
doesn't
he had
really
a
have he doesn't really
like
have a
his
lot of style.
style. I don't know. I like Clown and I like Cop Car, so I like John
I have
Wall.
not seen those movies. I've only seen the Spider-Man films.
Okay. Anyway,
So I can't say. But I am going to say this, and kind of like on the first one where I blamed the mom for all this happening, that little dickhead deserved what he got when that glass panel fell on top of him for fucking with those pigeons.
yeah,
He
asshole.
deserved that. Even the construction guy is like, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. He deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
He that guy, and now I'm wondering, when I rewatched it, like, did Def even have anything to do with that? Was Def like, all right, let's see what we could do? Oh wait, he's just gonna fuck with those pigeons.
I'm
I'm just gonna let this happen.
I'm also gonna blame the dad in the in the beginning of the film. He noticed the fuel leak or whatever, and he didn't call them until they were like mid already on the road. They were already driving, right? It's not like they were driving for like a few minutes and whatnot. So
But
he
what did the
waited
fuel
to
line
call
have
her.
to do with anything?
Oh, it didn't have anything to do except she took, I mean, it didn't have anything to do with it at that time. But
Well, you're
if he
saying
had,
at that time, what did it have to do with anything?
I guess the fact that she would have had to get it checked, and she would have had to, like, she couldn't drive all the way to Daytona Beach, on or whatever I think that's where they were going, Daytona.
Yeah, and then there was the transmission fluid, which, I mean, it depends on how bad the leak is, but I mean that, yeah, I mean, the blonde said don't pull over, it will be fine. Like, I don't know why she's a mechanic, but I mean, yeah, the
She just
transmission
didn't want to
fluid.
she just didn't want to like stop her trip from going to Daytona. Like, that's literally
Right.
why. Just a selfish thing, but that's a teenager kind of. She was the cutest. I liked her. I was like, damn it, wish she
You
stuck
don't like
around.
AJ Cook?
I do like AJ Cook, but
Oh
I
my
like her.
God, she's
I like her
amazing
blonde
looking.
better. I like
Oh
her as a
no,
blonde
no,
better.
not me.
I've seen her as both, and I prefer as a blonde.
I love AJ Cook. God, she is
Yeah.
cute. She is
Oh
so
man,
hot.
have you ever seen Out Cold? Have I talked to you about this? I don't know.
Out cold?
Out
No.
Cold. It's a
Oh, out cold.
yeah.
Oh, I know of it, but I
It's like a
don't.
snowboard movie with Jason London from
Oh, I'm gonna
uh
say.
our movie Dracula 2 and 3. Jason
Oh,
London.
I'm gonna say no. I know the movie with Randy Quaid called
No,
Out
no,
Cold.
no. This is a different
Showing my
movie.
age there.
Yeah, it was a what is it? It's a fun little thing. But AJ Cook's in that, so you know.
Well, I'm not sure what the thing that I've noticed, because I told you I've watched all of them, and then when I go back, I just kind of scan through them. Had an itch and wanted to watch them all. Is I noticed that the scene where the accident happens
Mm-hmm.
takes a long time, but once it goes back through the eye and it comes out again, and they're like, "Oh my God, I just had this vision," it takes like 30 seconds. So like with the truck, if you remember with the logs on it, they turn you see the motorcycle, you meet all of our characters. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a long, the cop spills his coffee, which, by the way, dumbass, you deserve that. Who puts a cup of coffee in their car without a lid?
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. And I hope you burnt your crotch. And it took a long time. It took like a couple minutes. But once AJ Cook sees the log truck go by, she goes, "That's the truck. That's the truck that murders everybody." Well, the truck doesn't murder anybody, but that's what she says.
Yeah.
And it's literally like 10 seconds later, it's like right down the road where
Mm-hmm.
the accident happens. And that's the same thing in every movie. Is it's right there. Is they don't, because they would have gone down in her vision or her premonition. They drive like 2-3 miles until it happens. But then when it comes back, it's like 10 seconds.
Well, if you notice, like I guess yeah, it's kind of like that with the first movie. The first movie, they're in the plane and the plane explodes, or whatever. But it took like I don't know. They were looking up at the plane flying, and it wasn't that far up in the air before it just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you just want to get to it and
Right.
go past it. And I was wondering with having watched all these, I wonder. And this one is also, I could say it to this one just like the first one. How do we know that death is even involved in these? Because it seems like the people that are trying to stop this cause the problem. Like whenever they try to, have you noticed that? Whenever they go to try to help somebody, it backfires and the
Right.
accident happens. So now, obviously, like the guy in the first film with the tub, and he hangs himself. That has nothing to do with it. But a lot of these is somebody will run up to somebody and go, "Hey, don't do that," and they'll be like, "Oh, what? Do what?" And then it happens. Like all of
Right.
a sudden, their death happens. It's almost like if our main characters would stop trying to stop it, that maybe these people would have lived.
Maybe I don't.
And a
No,
lot of this
because
stuff
no,
just
because
seems
no,
human
because
error. It just seems like they're clumsy.
because it seemed like death was still coming after them at times when okay, we'll get into many of the deaths and stuff because I kind of want to go to that at some point, like a little later. And those some of those deaths like are exactly what you're talking about, and then some are like
Some really seem like
plagued
it's
by
because I brought up God in the last one. Almost seems like it's God's plan, and then God sends death down. But sometimes death, like the kid with the window with the glass falling on him, which is one of the best deaths ever. God, that death is great. I mean, that thing just explodes. I mean, that I would have loved to have been on set that day. But it almost seems like death a lot of the times could just go, ugh,
I
just
saw
gonna hang
that
out. Ugh.
I saw that was on a the top 10 goriest scenes and everything. And I was like, yeah, just it seems about right.
It's brutal. I
I
was really surprised they got
and
away with that.
I can't wait to talk about that and that other stuff. But yeah, let's go back to the actual accident and stuff. And so yeah, the
Well,
girl
before the accident, let me just ask you this. So there's two things at the very beginning, right? During the opening credits that I
Mhm.
want to get your opinion on. One, we see a tarantula a few times.
Yeah.
That leads to nothing.
Mhm.
So I wonder why the tarantula was even there.
Well, later they see like you see like a spider thing.
No, it's like a
Image. No, no,
fish.
no, no,
You're talking about
no.
the fish that
I'm talking about later in another scene, like in the middle of the movie. There's like a little image of like a spider or something, and so like they have this thing of like spider things, but they spiders never become a part of the movie.
I
And
don't know. I don't remember that.
yeah, I'm
I
trying
just
to
know that
remember
there's a
that, but I don't.
tarantula roaming around. It's like, why is there a tarantula roaming around? And then the other thing is, I wonder, remember the guy at the beginning that's on the talk show
Mhm.
and he's telling us all about death? I wonder if that was meant to be Alex. Like it was written in the script for Alex to be on air. And he's telling about all this stuff. And then when the actor's like, no, I don't want to do this, they just got some random guy to be talking about it because who is that guy? Who is he? How do
He
we
doesn't come back into the movie, which is kind of disappointing
no?
because
And
he
there's
would have been
nothing down
cool.
below, there's nothing like says Professor Johnson, type of thing.
You know what? It would have been cool if they had like Bloodworth on there, and he's like, Tony Todd, and he's just like, "Yes, death is coming after all of you." Yes,
I think that would make more sense
right.
in a way instead of just some
Because later
random
on
guy.
we get him later, and I hate to say it, but that was the worst scene with Tony Todd ever. Like it was almost useless, like okay, except that explains a little bit more of like
He had to
the
talk about the
life,
birth.
the
Yeah.
birth, but that led to no that was wrong, like the way that they were thinking it was and stuff. So it was like he confused them anyway. I don't know. They could have figured out another, anyway. Yeah. I want to go back to the car wreck, but yeah. Is there anything more with the beginning, the opening that you want to discuss?
No, I just thought it was interesting that this random tarantula was roaming around when she didn't even freak out, when she woke
Yep.
up. I would have liked to maybe seen her go like, oh, majestic or something, and pet the
Yeah.
tarantula and put it back in its cage. Or and then the guy on the TV, it just would have been nice to have something Professor Jones, give like some institute that he's at, or instead of just some random dude. I mean, it might as well have just been me or you on there. It's just like, who is this guy?
Why
Why
wasn't
is
I on there?
because you were probably doing a podcast.
Probably. This was 2000 and what, 4, 2?
I wasn't even born yet.
I I wish I could say that in a way. In a way. I don't know if I'd want to be 20 again. But I don't know. Yeah, I think it was 2001 or 2002 that this movie came out. I didn't even know what a podcast was. I don't even know if it existed then, So sorry. Can't say that, but I don't know. I don't know what I was doing back then. I was doing something.
Well, so I got my Final Destination. Oh, here it is, 2003.
I do have a story about this that's actually pretty cool, that actually fits with Final Destination itself. So I think I might have explained to you a little bit, but so in 2011, it was a Hurricane Irene, I believe, and our lights went out, power went out, turned on my laptop, put in a movie, and I was like, Final Destination 2, why not? Right? Played the movie, was enjoying it. My battery finally ran out after the movie was done. And then at that same time, the wind was bad enough that a tree fell in my neighbor's house, right? And pinned one of the guys that was staying there, like a brother of the guy who lived there. His brother got like pinned down into the, from the tree, almost killed, but not killed. However, his the guy who owns the house, his mother was staying there and got up and went to go see what was going on downstairs at that time, right? Had she had stayed there for whatever, went to bed, whatever, she would have been killed by the tree collapsing into the, it landed like right on her bed.
Oh, wow. Did she
So
die later? I mean, she would have to die later.
it is not, I'm not sure if she even is still alive or not. She was old. So she could have died of old age, but I don't
Did
think
she
death did not come after her, sadly.
So she didn't choke on her
That's sadly,
supper.
that sounds
She didn't
terrible,
choke on her
sadly.
soup
No, she, as far as I
like
know,
4 days later.
no, as far as I know,
She
but
didn't choke to death while watching Fox News. So
no, not as far as I know, she lived, but it was like a scary thing of like, but it was funny because when they were mentioning all the near deaths, I was like, oh shit, that happened at the exact same time I was watching Final Destination
well,
2.
your story is so much more interesting than the death of the main character from the first film in the second movie. It's amazing. A tree falling on somebody's bed is so much more interesting than a brick. I love that. I still think to this day, and I mentioned this to you before, that the actor who played Alex, that he did not want to come back. Maybe he wanted too much money.
Devin Sawa.
And they just said, okay, fine. F you. We're just going to kill you off in a lame ass way. And it's just a brick hit him in the head.
Probably right. Like they probably originally wanted him for that scene. And he was like, I'm not coming in to just talk about the deaths that, like, why would I want to do that? Well, I want to be the star. And they're like, well, we can't have you be the star because like like you're going to cheat death like in every movie, And so they're like, we'll put you, at the end. And they use Clear instead as the final girl, So it was kind of cool. Like she's the one who
kind of the final girl. I mean, kind of.
No, she was the final girl from the first movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she wasn't the final girl in the second movie. And we'll get to that later.
I mean, I would think that Alex would probably have been more in the movie, probably just dying the same way that Clear does, just in some way that's huge and big. And so they're like, well, yeah, can you go on this talk show? Maybe before the script was even written, or maybe they had an outline or something. And then he's just like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this. I got to go do Hamlet on stage. I'm going to go do that instead. And they're like, oh, okay, dickhead. So we're just going to have you killed by a brick. I wanted a picture of the brick. Like there's a picture of him and then there's a picture of the brick.
Like falling down on him.
He's like
they took a picture right then and there.
Yeah. He's just walking casually and you see the brick just like right above him.
Oh Lord, somebody could Photoshop that. So anyway, yes, to go back to the car, the wreck and everything. So she sees the wreck happen, and you're right, it's like kind of almost slow motion without being slow motion. It's like this, oh my god, this happens. And then she wakes up and she's like on the side of the road, like she was when we first see her or whatever, right? And she's, and then she's like, oh my god, she sees all the signs, Highway to Hell plays, and the people are like, you're freaking me out.
Did you catch on the construction, like there was like the sign that said 180?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So there was a lot of like images like that there was that it was happening, like this was whatever, this was like all the signs, and she was like, this is gonna accident. So she saves god damn, where did my voice go right there? So she saves what?
Puberty, you just hit puberty.
I guess so. Long time coming, man.
Some people take longer than others.
I can't help that. So she saves all.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Moody.
No, it was like a high pitch like thing. I feel like. wasn't it like low?
Reverse
Reverse puberty,
puberty.
puberty. So what is it? So yeah, she saves all the people behind her that would have died in the wreck, and Death was probably pissed. But then what about all those other people who died who didn't die before?
Well, and that's what I was curious about is so she's at the stop sign waiting to go on the freeway, and then there's all the cars, and then the last one is the cop.
Right.
Now, if you look at the cop, there's two other cars that pull up behind the cop.
Right.
We only see what's between the cop and her.
Mm-hmm.
Who are those other people behind?
Mm-hmm.
And were they affected by this?
I don't know. And they probably weren't going to die in that car crash or whatever. The only people that died in the car crash we see, and those are the people she saved. So, okay. So let's break this down a little bit. If I can remember, because I saw it earlier today, but I can't remember exactly. And I should have, mapped it out of who died first, who died, whatever. Right. But like the first person to die was the cop, because he got the log,
right through his head.
Right through his head.
That was nice and chunky.
Yeah. So he was the one who got like the thing flew off and like hit him. Then everybody else, it started the chain reaction with everybody else, right? And so and then he wasn't the first to die because they said like it was like sort of reverse, I guess, what happened.
Well, okay, because so if they're in the first movie on the flight, they died in the order of where they were sitting.
Right.
Right. And so so in the second, are they dying in the order that they were at the stop sign or the order that they died in the premonition?
I'm not sure. That was the thing that confused the fuck
because
out
then
of
the
me.
cop would be last, not first.
Right. And the girl was supposed to be last, they said. You're last.
But the cop pulled her out of the way and her friends died instead of her, so it skipped.
Right.
So then
So yeah, she would have died. But that was so weird because everybody else was saved because they were behind everybody. Right? Because they're high behind the cop.
Yeah, unless, like you said, unless they weren't killed in the wreck, because like the cop who was last in the premonition, because so to go her first, she stops, she gets onto the freeway. Then you have, I don't know, I'm not sure what order this is, but then the mom and the kid.
Yeah, and then you have the drug guy.
The guy who looks like Tommy Lee. How he never got a Tommy Lee movie, I don't know. And then you got the guy who won the lottery.
Won the lottery.
You got the woman who's pregnant in the white van, the creepy white van. Blackout motorcycle. And then the cop. So I'm not sure if that's the correct order or not, but those are the people that get killed. So I don't know if Death is looking at this from how they died in the accident, that's just a premonition, or how they died in real life at the stop sign.
I don't know. It's very fucking confusing, and that's this is the problem I feel like with having it be a highway, issue rather than rather than being on a plane and having the people get off the plane, right? Because that totally makes sense. If you get the people off the plane, those people are safe from that situation of being on the plane, right? If you have the people off the thing, like I said, there's all we see in the premonition, right, are the deaths of the people that are in the that she saves, right? So in the premonition, all we see are the deaths of the cop, the deaths of the mom and the kid, the deaths of, everybody there. That's all we see, right? We don't see everybody else who apparently died. Like in Flight 180, everybody who died in that
Oh, I see what you're
airplane.
saying. So yeah,
So
we're only seeing our main cast die, but
right,
as I'm sure there are other people who died
but they're never mentioned.
on the freeway.
They just said an accident that happened, you know, that
They don't give a
took.
death toll.
I don't think so. Do they? Maybe they did. I probably did. They have to, because I don't remember that. Like, it was so confusing already, because I was like, wait, what is going on here? Why is, especially when after the cop was the first one to die, I was expecting him to be the next one, or have to, they have to skip him, or
Well,
something.
didn't you start to mention that it was in reverse?
Well, that's what I think they tried to say, was it was in sort of reverse from where they were. And you might be right then, because then that meant that it skipped her, right? Because she was supposed to die, but then she would have been last, right? She was the last one in the premonition to die, right? So she was skipped. So if it was in reverse, and she got saved by the cop, or whatever, and he saved her life, or, I think that's what happened. He like jumped and pulled her out of the way of the truck before it slammed into the car, and killed all her friends. She would have been the one who died at that particular. She would have been the only one in that group that would have died, and everybody, you know what I mean? So then it would have
So
skipped.
okay, so I'm finding on Final Destination Wiki. It says position 1. This is for Final Destination 2.
Okay.
Position 1, Thomas Burke, obliterated through windshield by log.
Yep.
So I'm guessing this is in order. Eugene Dix, crushed between motorcycle and log.
Okay, Eugene was the black guy.
Right. Rory Peters, hit by garbage truck and incinerated in car explosion. So that's the guy that won the lottery.
Okay. Which one was that? What was his name?
Rory Peters. They're going by character name.
Right, Rory Peters.
Yeah, he had the worst death, because we've already figured out from 9/11 that fire is by far the worst possible death ever.
Wait, he didn't die by fire though, right? I thought he died by
well, this is in
got
that explosion in the opening scene.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying that in the movie, he actually died from a thing.
He was impaled.
In his head.
Yeah. Then Kat, the girl who smokes, the kind of
so
business girl, neck snapped in SUV rollover.
What was she smoking, by the way? What are those?
Cloves, I want to say, like clove cigarettes. They're really smelly.
They looked gross. I mean, it was like
they smell gross. They look gross. Yeah, but I think that's what they are. I think they're clove cigarettes. Nora Carpenter, who's the mother, incinerated in car explosion.
That's another
upon
thing.
Impact with log.
It's another thing that there was a corpsman and a carpenter. Once again, don't do that. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, Tim Carpenter and Nora Carpenter. Yeah, incinerated in car explosion upon impact with log. And then it says here, Evan Lewis, and this is all together. He's 7, and then 8 through 10. It's 1, 2, 3. So 3 people hit by truck from hell. Oh, so that's her friends.
Her friends died. Yep.
Hit by truck from hell and incinerated in car explosion. Oh, that's also and Kimberly.
And Kimberly
Corbin. Yeah. So that's AJ Cook.
Yep. So there you go.
It says something here.
Let me look that up too.
Yeah, I just typed in Final Destination 2 deaths. But it says here, if multiple people escape their intended deaths, then death will kill them in the order they were meant to die in originally, though it can divert from this rule in multiple ways. And then it does mention the butterfly effect. And it says in Final Destination 2, Route 23, survivors are killed in the reverse order to seal the rift caused by the survival of the Flight 180 survivors. So this all goes back to the first film.
Okay.
To explain the first 5 Flight 180 survivors to die, and then it lists the characters' names, inadvertently intervened in the original fates of all of Route 23 survivors with their deaths, causing those survivors to be piled up on a list based on who intervened in their deaths. So this all has to do with the first film, which you talk about, that each one of them did somehow meet up with somebody who died in the first movie.
Okay, so this is this is from the plot from the wiki, thing here. And so this might actually explain things too. So exactly 1 year after the explosion of Flight 180, college student Kimberly Corman is heading to Daytona Beach, Florida for spring break with her friends. While waiting on the entrance ramp to US Route 23, she has a premonition of a deadly pileup caused by a logging truck. She stalls her car on the entrance ramp, preventing several people from entering the highway, including lottery winner Evan Lewis, mother Nora Carpenter, and her 15-year-old son Tim, businesswoman Kat Jennings, stoner Rory Peters, pregnant woman Isabella Hudson, high school teacher Eugene Dix, and Deputy Marshal Thomas Burke. While Burke questions Kimberly, the pileup occurs, but Shayna, Dano, and Frankie, the 3 friends, are killed by the car carrier after Burke saves Kimberly at the last second. After the survivors are questioned by the police station, Evan is fatally impaled by the blah, blah, blah. Let me see if there's anything about the okay. Wanted to see where it actually came up with the okay. Meanwhile, Tim is Clear decides to help and introduce Kimberly and Burke to William Bloodworth, who tells them the only new life can defeat death, believing that the birth of Elizabeth. Okay. Anyway, didn't really help with the thing, but I'm wondering why the reverse. Like, did it explain that in your thing of why the deaths were the way they were?
I mean, it says here changing the order of death pre-disaster. Alex and Jonathan, who looks like Jonathan from the Final Destination, both oh no, I'm sorry. Alex and I guess his friend Jonathan, both changed the order in which they were targeted in Final Destination and the Final Destination, respectively, when they sat in different seats than they did in their premonition disaster, enabling them to survive longer than they would have originally. So I guess the seats that they were originally in, they would have died sooner, but because they changed seats, then they were able to live longer when it wasn't the premonition. Intervention occurs when someone involves themselves in their death. Self-intervention occurs when someone on death's list manages to save themselves from dying. It's actually kind of a cool website here.
What's it called?
It's just Final Destination Wiki.
Oh, okay.
Preventing the disaster from occurring or taking lives. Occurs when someone on death's list manages to somehow stop a disaster from occurring or somehow removes those on death's list from the situation, depending if the situation was truly avoided death or has set up. Those on death's list who were included to die may be skipped. There's cheating death permanently.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, this is where it talks about the one from part 2. Cheating death permanently, using the rule that, and this is in quotes, only new life beats death. One can cheat death for good by either dying or then being revived or giving birth to a child that was never meant to be born. However, this only exempts the person cheating, and any other people will still be on that list. So why did the cop live? Will still be targeted. Oh, come on, I got a fucking pop up there. Targeted. One can also cheat by causing the death of someone who was not meant to die and taking their lifespan along them, allowing them to live until the day the descendant was meant to die. So I guess since Kimberly drowned and she was brought back to life, she's safe, but the cop wouldn't be safe.
Right.
So the cop should die.
Well, maybe he did die. We just never saw it.
Yeah, I mean, it's never brought up in any of the other movies. I could tell you that.
Yep. So anyway, I don't know. It's interesting. I just that's the, like I said, it's different when it's a plane that everybody just gets off. Then it's somebody just stopped a pileup, from like them being part of the pileup. But I wish there was something more about like all the other people that died in the car crash, the pileup,
I mean, other people had to. It
Yeah.
was too big of a crash for them not to. But I guess since we're only focused on these characters,
Yep.
that's who it is. So it's because the other ones, some of the other ones make a little bit more sense. Like part 3, they're on the roller coaster. So like the plane, where were you sitting in the roller coaster?
Yeah. And once again, that is the same director as the first one. So I think maybe that seems like, like they were like, oh, let's just kind of recreate the first one. This one seemed to kind of go a little, but I did like, there was one little twist that we get at the end of the movie that I really liked in this one, which was everybody that died or was supposed to die in this one was supposed to die before in Final Destination. But unfortunately, because they were killing off the people from the movie, those people survived. So now death is coming back to get these guys, because like they mentioned later that each person was supposed to go somewhere, and that actually had something to do with, one person was in Paris, one person was saw that truck incident or whatever happened, you see what I'm saying?
The bus.
The bus, yeah, the bus hit the
they
hit
saw
the girl.
Yeah,
so they all had something to do with that. Like they were all around at that time. Like the one guy saw the sign fall on the guy in Paris, and everything. He was supposed to die in Paris.
So is it guilt by association or death by association?
Well, it was like I said, I think originally they were supposed to die, but because death had to I guess clear up loose ends, tie up loose ends, that they were off, that they got skipped.
Now I'm a little confused on stuff. So let's say that the character in part 2 who witnessed the girl being mowed over by the bus.
Mm-hmm.
What if she was just sitting there drinking coffee when it happened? Was she supposed to choke on the coffee and die? But because the girl was hit by the bus, death said, "Oh, I'll go to the bus instead of having you choke on your coffee."
Oh.
Just like the cop, he mentions that he went to the railroad and that's where he found, what's his face from American Pie,
right?
Decapitated.
Billy Hitchcock, yeah.
And then he was supposed to, I guess, because he was sent to that scene. He wasn't with his partner, who got shot and killed, something like that.
Yeah.
And if he was there, he would have
been killed too. Because, and remember that one guy mentioned the teacher, if he hadn't left, he would have been stabbed. Now that I was like questioning, because I'm like, would that necessarily have happened to him? Because here, and this goes to my belief in just like everyday life, right? we all make choices, right? We all make decisions that affect our life, So I go outside, or I say I decide I'm going to stay in all day today, right? I'm not going to go outside. And then later on, I hear that there was a murder that happened at a place I was supposed to be at, right? Well, I didn't go to it because I decided to stay outside. Did I just save myself from death, or did I or did or does death have no, like, was that never the plan? Was the plan always for me to stay home and for that death to happen there? You know?
I guess it depends on what you believe. If you talk to somebody like me who's an atheist, I would say, dude, you were shit lucky. Man, it's a good thing you didn't go. There'd be that type of reaction. Where if it was somebody who's maybe more religious or spiritual or something, they might say, somebody was looking out for you and told you to stay home, and then that way you wouldn't have been at
I mean,
Denny's and
I
shot with everybody else.
I would be like thinking that too as a Christian, because we are. This is funny because like Paul and I and my buddy Joe and I are Christian. Paul is just like you; he's an atheist, and we actually watched
Dirty, filthy atheist.
I know, and we watched a faith-based terrible film. And I won't say the name yet because it's going to be on Indie Film Cafe. We can't wait for everybody to hear us talk about it. But it brought up a really good conversation about our faith and our feelings, but not in a like preachy at all kind of way. It was more like we just brought the stuff up, and Paul was really into talking about it. But that's the thing. A lot of it was about faith and your faith in doing this or that, and that's the thing with this is like you look at this movie and you look at you wonder, like, would that be the thing? You and Paul would have said the exact same thing. Wow, you were lucky, that didn't happen. What a crazy coincidence.
But it's stroke of luck,
right?
Type of thing, yeah.
But me or Joe might have been like, God put a thought in our head that said, for us to stay home,
But there is the dueling thing that doesn't make sense, and it never has, which is free will versus God's plan.
Right.
So you could say that, free will told you not to go. You're just like, oh, I just think I'll stay home and watch a movie. But yet, was it then God's plan to have 17 children gunned down? Because then, that's pretty bad if that's the plan. So that's the whole thing with, I don't know if you ever saw that film, The Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, I've seen that, though. Matt Damon movie.
Yeah, so that's the one where he and Emily Blunt are never supposed to meet. But for some reason, an angel falls asleep. I don't know why angels need to sleep, but the angel falls asleep and they do meet.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through the whole movie trying to escape them, like the angels and all that stuff, eventually meeting up with God.
Oh, God, I totally forgot about that stuff. I need to rewatch that movie because
it's a great movie. As an atheist, it's a great film, actually. It does have its issues, like why does an angel need to sleep? But
angels don't need to sleep, I guess. But
I guess as a human, because they took human form, he may have to sleep and eat and drink and all that, I guess. But at the end, they actually get God's permission to be together because they've been, he makes that exception because normally that's once God makes a plan, that's the plan. So
that's like they do in Supernatural, like the TV show Supernatural is like, well, actually in Supernatural, God's away on vacation, and so just chaos is happening anyway, or whatever. And the angels are getting tired of, like waiting for some kind of like, thing. So they start taking matters into their own hands and it creates whatever, which I think is an interesting theme for and it's once again done by X-Files people, so it's sort of, that idea. But it's sort of like an idea of like, what if God took a vacation, You know, what if God was just like, you know what, I don't want to do my plan right now. I don't want to come up with, every plan that's ever going to create right now. Let me go take a little break. And then what would happen? Then probably what we expect to have like free will and us doing stuff. But then technically we can't blame God at that particular moment, but whatever. Anyway.
Well, that's why you have people say that when, my child died of cancer at 5 years old, you have people saying, well, that's God's plan, which is pretty fucked up when you think about it. That why
Yep.
would you give a baby that's 5 years old, that's completely innocent, that hasn't done anything to anybody except maybe poop, and all of a sudden give it cancer? That's so.
Well,
Within these films, though, so if God has a plan that these people were supposed to die with all these logs, then that means God sent her the premonition. She got the premonition, stopped everybody, and then God went, okay, death, go do your thing. Even though he was the one who planned it from the beginning. Once again, that's pretty messed up, because you just saved a bunch of people from dying, but now you're sending death down to take them out anyways.
I don't like it. See, it's too complicated because they never. It's complicated and it's all in your interpretation, right? Because they never tell you flat out. It's never like somebody comes down and says, "Oh, it's God doing this," or "It's death doing this." It's that one guy on the news that we don't have a clue who he is, saying that there's a death design and blah 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 blah. Well, he's basically just recapping the first movie for the audience to know and to kind of assume what they're going to assume about what is going on. But I don't know. It's so confusing.
But somebody has to be sending these people in every movie the premonition. Somebody has to be. So there has to be, in a way, dueling sides. So you have to have the person who's going against death, because death is like, I'm going to wait 2 miles down the road and I'm going to snap that chain and I'm going to kill everybody.
Right.
And then there's that person who's like behind death going, I know what you're planning. I've seen it. I'm going to send that down to this person so they can avoid it. And then they do. And then death gets pissed off, as they've mentioned in the movies, that
Right.
death gets mad because you've changed his plan.
Right.
So then he comes and
Death
kills
is
them.
angry.
Yeah.
Angry Grim Reaper.
Yeah. And then he comes and kills you. So somebody
he
has to
is,
be
because
sending those people the premonitions.
Because like the first one we saw, remember where we were talking about it on the last episode, that all of a sudden there's the water that comes and then disappears, and gets out of sight. It does the same thing in this one, where all like the Eugene, who's stuck in the doctor's, the table or whatever. He's in the bed, doctor's bed, and all of a sudden, like the thing starts kind of, slowly creaking and stuff. You're like, wait a minute, it's not going to do that. Like literally, death is pushing this thing to make this happen.
I would sue the shit out of that dentist.
Oh, I'm not talking about the dentist. I was talking about the hospital scene. The black guy.
Eugene. Okay. Yeah.
And so he was like, how the stuff just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
Right.
And like, it's literally death doing that until, oops, I didn't put into account the door. Oh, well, gives up, goes on to whatever else he's doing.
The baby is born.
Oh,
so
that's right.
Death's doing his thing. He even blocked the door with that rolling cart, like the shelves, because Clear has to move it out of the way.
Right.
To get in, but she doesn't, because that's there's the explosion. But once the baby is born, everything goes back to normal. Like his tanks go back to normal, and the electricity comes back on, and all that type of stuff.
But however, we find out that it wasn't that wasn't what the plan or whatever it was, right? Like that wasn't the thing. Remember, they find out later the new life was she had to try to kill herself and be brought back to life, or whatever. So it wasn't even the baby being born. So that was what confused the fuck out of me, is like, wait, so I thought what would have been cool and understandable is that the baby was born, right? And that happened, right? And everything seemed fine, like, oh my god, this is great, like we're done, death's done. And then Clear goes and opens up the door, and that just kills both of them, because that wasn't, like, like,
That's
because
pretty much what happens.
right. However, death kept coming after both of those two, or whatever, right? Like she was like, oh shit, there's, that wasn't it. The baby being born wasn't the premonitions I was having.
Well, now maybe Eugene was safe, but Death had to finish with Clear.
Right.
And that's the explosion was not really to kill Eugene, but it was to kill Clear.
Right.
So then he could, but it was just kind of a double whammy that he
Well,
happened to be there.
Yeah. So would that be like Death made an accident then? Because if that wasn't planned, if that wasn't the way Eugene was supposed to die necessarily, or, or was it like, oh shit, well, I got lucky that Eugene was still there at that time. I don't know. It's so confusing.
Maybe not an accident, but it's something where it's just like, what the fuck, because you also got to think,
That's
okay,
like,
so so Death is in Paris with them at the ending of the first film,
right?
And the sign hits the guy, so we still got the two mains left. So they fly back to the United States.
Oh Jesus!
Why didn't Death just kill them on the plane?
Take them.
Wouldn't that have been the way to go? Just have lightning hit the plane, and then they just
but then he would have killed all
ocean?
these. He would have killed all the other people there too.
But remember, the guy at the beginning of the first film sees a baby and a disabled guy, and he goes, God would be pretty fucked up if he killed them, and he did.
I'm just saying that maybe those people aren't planned to die. So maybe what they should do is try to, keep around people who are supposed to live for a long time, and be like, I'm going to hang out with these guys, because
how do you know who's gonna live for a long time, though?
I mean, you don't, but you can kind of imagine, like, I mean, you can't. I guess you don't know. You're right. Yeah, like you could literally say, like so many times I go on Facebook and there's like somebody died, and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, why did that person? And it's you just don't know. And that's the scary thing about life is, death is everywhere.
And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you could be completely unhealthy and live until 90, and you could be the pillar of health and die at 25.
Didn't they talk about how death is all around us? Like, isn't that what the guy said in the beginning of the movie? That death is all around us, like, like just anywhere, like.
Well, I took what he says, that it could be anything, that death is everywhere, because I could drink from this and then choke to death on it.
Right.
That it could be anything, anywhere,
all
that type of stuff.
And
because I still get
thought.
Well, it's true. I mean, you could, excuse me, I've been involved in 2 head-on collisions and 1 rear ender since I've been out here in Vegas, and I used to love to drive, and now I hate to drive, because every time I drive to work, I think, am I going to die? Am I going to be in another, or if there is a God, is 3 times the charm, and now I'm okay. Like, it's like, oh, John hasn't been in any accidents ever. Let's give him 2 head-on collisions and 1 rear ender. And okay, now we're done. Now we'll go move on to somebody else. But I'm terrified every single time I drive to work.
It's scary. Just, you got to be more careful, and we talked about this earlier through texting, but how much drug use is in this movie is just fucking unbelievable. There was the guy, there's like people drinking, like the truck driver,
alcohol, truck, smoking,
coke,
weed. Oh, party.
Yeah. Yeah, the weed makes you tired.
Apparently I need drugs. Yeah, to either stay up or go to bed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drug use in this movie. Yeah. Her smoking her cloves and
Oh, but she smoked like almost every scene.
I found her to be attractive, and it kind of turned me off that she was smoking. I don't get. At work today, I saw a couple people smoking just regular cigarettes, and I'm like, how is this still a thing?
I mean,
just not
vaping
attractive.
is more like vaping. It doesn't bother me at all, but smoking cigarettes, I'm like, can you just quit? Like
I don't know why we need it at all. I mean, anything, vaping or anything like that. I remember I was seeing
I just know a lot of people are
Saw 3D, and some guy was vaping in a 3D movie, and it was going straight up, and I could see it in my glasses. I'm like, motherfucker. And I went down and told him to stop.
Oh, I thought you should say in the movie, like
no,
okay.
in the audience, this guy was, I was watching it in Beverly Hills and out of all places. And because I knew it was opening, I was visiting a friend and it was opening day, and I went, well, shit, I'm going to go see Saw 3 or Saw 3D before I get home. And I went, and the theater was almost empty because it was, it was like the first showing or whatever, second showing. And all of a sudden, just all this smoke just came up.
Like, you're not supposed to smoke in that theater anyway, period.
No, because he's a jag off millennial, type of thing. Oh, I could do whatever I want, whatever.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get into that because I have other things I want to say, and probably wouldn't go by with all the millennials right now.
Let me take all that gruff.
I'm technically a millennial, and I hate it because I didn't know for the longest time that I was millennial. I thought I was I don't know, what was before millennial, Gen X or something? But
no, I'm Gen X.
Okay, what was after Gen X? Because it was
millennials.
Millennial. Okay, so I thought
then it's like Gen Y, and then there's the new one is I think it's like unknown at this point.
I thought I was
name like that.
I thought I was Gen X because I'm 82. Born in 82. 80 is millennial. I believe 80 or 81 in that time. So I'm like so fucking pissed. Like I'm like I can.
I'm glad I'm Gen X.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel Gen X-y. I don't feel millennially. But I grew up in that time, I guess, or whatever. I call it the Saved by the Bell era. So yeah,
pretty much. So
pretty much. So it makes sense. But so when it comes to this movie, I didn't mind. My brain is just like,
maybe you just can't put thought into it. It's just they piss death off, and then now death's coming to them. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all you need to think about, because then all of a sudden it turns into one of those films where almost part 2, almost Final Destination 2 almost went the way of the Star Wars prequels, where it's everything has to be connected. And it's just like, no, not everything has to be connected. It could just be a movie where you bring up the first film. So this one did try to kind of connect all of them together. And I think it's with part 3 where they kind of get away from that, where all of a sudden they just start with it's people on a boat, or it's people on a beach, or it's people, it doesn't matter. They're not connected, but we'll mention the other movies, at least the first one.
Yeah. I bet the third and fourth did that, but the fifth one was a prequel too. Like it, and give me started on that because I know, because it didn't look like the 90s or whatever, early 2000. Did it look like, would you have guessed that's,
I saw it in the theater and I was blown away. I just went, oh shit, this is a prequel. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I didn't really think about clothes or electronics.
See, you like that. You like that shit. Because I remember, the one movie, and I'm just going to mention The Dawn, where you're just like, at the end of it, it became Amityville. And you're like, oh, that's amazing.
I'm like, oh shit, it's an Amityville movie.
And
all right, now I like it. I do dig stuff like that, and even though I did just criticize connections to other movies, but it depends on how it's done. In this, I didn't mind that they were connected to the
Well, I
first
didn't
film.
mind it. I didn't
That's
mind it
okay.
because it's a sequel. So generally speaking, sequels
Well,
should
but
have
then the
some
people in part
connection.
three aren't going, I was there that day on the freeway when the logs, they're not doing that again. It's a completely separate thing.
Mm.
They mention mostly one. They mention that you see like a little thing for part two, and that's it. That's all they do. It's a completely separate thing, which is fine because you can't keep connecting everybody to everything. It just
No,
has to
no,
be.
now I'm wondering about the teacher, Eugene, who had to go to another school or whatever, and when he went to his other school, the person got stabbed. Was that connected? How was that connected? See what I'm saying?
I don't.
I don't think that's connected to
I don't
the
think
original
that's.
people.
No, the cop is.
The cop is because because he
The
got.
which person saw the girl hit by the bus?
Oh no, 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 no. He replaced Val Luton. He replaced her because remember she was leaving at the end.
And
So
she got stabbed.
she got, yeah.
She was stabbed, remember?
No, 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 no. But that wasn't what he was talking about. He was talking about that he was supposed to be at another school. He was supposed to be at another school, and a student came up and stabbed this teacher. Right? He wasn't talking about Val, but he was talking about like that he survived a death happening to him because another teacher got stabbed. He was replacing Val. That's why he went to another school. So
Okay.
that's actually why, yeah. So
Okay, so
that's his connection. Okay, so
there's a
they did
connection to
connect. They
everything.
did connect all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wait, why did he do that? And then now I totally remember. So
Okay.
that all of them are connected in some way, and then they start talking about it, and it gets to be almost like exposition style, like, oh yeah, well, I remember I did this and blah 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 blah.
Oh, it was definitely exposition. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I
it
mean,
kind
that
of
was
drove me
the.
crazy. I hate when that happens because I'm just like, oh god, we're gonna get all of it in one, like,
Well, now it's just a talking head in a car.
yeah, it's just a bunch of people in a car saying,
That's why they say that if you want to be a filmmaker and you write a scene like that, the movie you watch is The Terminator, with Michael Biehn explaining everything to Sarah Connor, and they're
right,
driving, and he's like, going all on the streets, and it's cutting inside the car, outside the car. He's being chased by the cops. He's like checking her for bullet wound. They say that's how you do a scene of exposition. If you're gonna have to tell somebody a lengthy scene of exposition, watch The Terminator. That scene of them driving is considered to be one of the best ways of doing it.
well, because you need action, you need something. You can't, if you see like somebody just talking the whole time, it becomes a play, right? Like it becomes like you're watching a play of like what's going on instead of, because movies are a visual medium, right? Like you need to see the stuff happen. It's not like plays where people can just sit on a stage and explain everything to you, as the audience. You want to actually see what's going on. That's why I get so crazy when people do that stuff, but they don't do like flashbacks or something, they just talk about the stuff or whatever. I think
But
you've
then,
even talked about that.
well, yeah, you should show, not say, not say.
Yeah.
You should always show it. But of course, we don't know the conditions of what the filmmaker was under, that maybe these were the only way that he could get those out there. Because I think about the audio commentary for Valentine, and how Jamie Blanks talks about how he just didn't have the time. He didn't have the money. He didn't have. So instead of doing close-ups and master shots and B-roll footage, it's like, nope, you know what? It's you're in the background and you're on the sofa talking on the phone, and that's it. It's one shot. And
Yep.
we're
You
gonna
don't
get
have
everything, you
you
know.
don't have time or money. Like they couldn't have
Yeah,
had flashbacks of all the teacher stuff because that would have cost more money and time,
yeah.
or they would have had to brought back the original actors or something, probably paid them, you know what I mean? Like, or showed archive of stuff, and then added footage, you know, like, like when the cop talks about how he was going to be shot, but he instead went to go check on the was it the train stuff up with Billy,
Yeah, the
you know.
Hitchcock. Yeah.
Yeah, so he went to there instead of being killed. He would have been killed in that specific thing, but he wasn't there, And once again, I think literally that was death skipping them because, and having them come to, because he had to clean up tie up these loose ends first. So now he's tying up the loose ends that he left that he didn't get a chance to to deal with, or something, I don't
I
know.
think since we already have Stifler in here, I think that they should make Final American Pie. And they're all going on a vacation. It's a reunion, and they're all there. And Stifler has the vision. He has his premonition, and nobody believes him because he's Stifler. And he gets everybody off of wherever they're at. It could be a boat or something like a cruise ship. And he gets them all off, and it's just the whole cast. Maybe one person is left behind because they could only shoot for one day, and everybody dies, and it's the whole American Pie cast, but it's Final Destination.
As much fun as that would be, that's like more like a parody, like that's like something you would see on like Saturday Night Live or something, Final American Pie.
American Pie.
I remember when they would used to do that, where they would used to like do like little short films where it would be something, it would be like Swing Blade, where it was swingers and Sling Blade together.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, stuff like that. Or my favorite is George Lucas in Love, which is like Star Wars, but with
I've seen that.
Like, yeah, George Lucas created Star Wars, but done through Shakespeare in Love, and stuff, or whatever. Thought that was cute. But like that's what parodies used to be like, and now people don't do things like that
well
anymore.
So then in my Final American Pie, it can be how people have, from what we've seen from the other movies. So like Willow could get the flute and she could die from it going where, and then Jim could die because he gets, they go, hey Jim, it's been 30 years since you put your dick in a hot pie, and then he puts his dick in there and he dies from, like he catches on fire because it's so hot. So they go back and they die from all the stuff from the other movies.
I don't know, man. From Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jason Biggs seemed to hate that people talked about him fucking a pie.
The pie fucker. I'm the pie fucker. I'm the pie fucker. So nobody steal that from me. That's my idea. Nobody steal that from me. American Destination or Final American Pie.
Final American Pie. Bye, Miss Final American Pie.
There you go. That's a song that could be played throughout it. You know what that's missing? I that's one thing I didn't like about the sequel. I like that they had the one reoccurring song in the first film, but it's done in different ways. In this one, it seemed to be multiple songs. Like she hears Highway to Hell, and then there's like other songs that kind of come up. Well, like Highway to Hell should have been the reoccurring song throughout the whole movie.
In the dentist chair, did you realize they also played the Rocky Mountain song from Jen Denver that they played in the first movie?
Did they?
Yeah. I saw it in a thing. I don't remember it, like I just saw that in a trivia.
Probably very elevator music-y.
Yeah, I think version. That's probably the point.
But each film should have like a different song, that talks about that. Like, the third one could be Metallica or something, it could be one of their songs, or it would just be over and over again. There you go. Yeah.
So something like that, stuff about death. I like the Highway to Hell because I thought that was perfect for their, because the whole idea was she was listening to all these things. She heard the Highway to Hell, she heard the stuff about the 180, stuff. So she was turning the channels because she was getting all these death omens, or whatever.
Right.
And she was like, I don't like this, and then, or pile up, which I'm like, wait, what?
Pile up is incorrect. I get what they're doing, but if they're a football team, it'd be pile on,
right?
Not pile up. But I get what they were doing, and let's say nobody died or whatever it is. I wanted that guy to get busted for pot.
Yeah.
This is, I have nothing against pot. I do dabble in it a little bit, but it's if you're going to be that like egotistical about it, or that I'm not blanking on the word, not like I'm blanking on the, like, not sassy, but you're going to be that type of person where I'm the guy with all the marijuana, it's my marijuana, and then you see a cop and you're like, oh crap, I gotta hide it, I'm gonna go to prison.
I'm gonna throw it out and almost kill somebody, because I threw out the pot, and it landed on that girl's windshield or whatever, and almost started a fire, on that,
yeah, he deserved
he
to
was
be
almost
busted for that.
he was almost the first person to start the whole accident, like that could have been an accident in itself, is like the fire happening and then her pulling off and just, causing all these problems, but she just wiped the windshield wiper and it brushed off, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, but
and then
I
he goes like this to the girl, and I'm like,
yeah.
you're a fucking asshole, dude. Like,
Well, and that's God, I'm blanking on the word that I want to use for this. God, I had it like 2 seconds ago
douchebag.
too. Not a douchebag, but it's the attitude that he has with it, and how it changes.
Entitled?
So entitled. Thank you. That he acts so entitled that when the cop does show up, that then all of a sudden, oh my God, he just becomes like this big baby when he like pretended to be this big macho man. You deserve to be busted. Kind of like the guy, like the druggy guy who looks like Tommy Lee. That at least I found funny is when he's all doing the lines and stuff, and then he sees the cop and he's all proper, and then the cop goes by him and he goes back again like this, and he's like, what are you looking at? What?
Yeah.
He's like this total fake tough guy.
Right.
that is just a pussy in real life, that you can just take him down in one hit, and the guy is like out. But it's the entitled pot guy that just annoyed me, and I'm guessing that's what they were supposed to do. It reminds me of Office Space, with the guy with the glasses, and he's playing the rap music, and the black guys pull up on the side of him, and he turns it down. And then the black guys leave and he turns it back up again. It's that type of thing.
Yeah, it's that type of thing. You don't want to hide it because you don't want to get in trouble or whatever,
Yeah, but yeah, you should own it. But I do have to admit, I did the same thing as the guy in Office Space when I had to go into South Central to get a math book when I was going to Los Angeles City College. It was the only place that had it, and I was playing Body Count, and just because I love the album, and I think I love Body Count, and once I hit South Central, I turned it off.
Well, I mean, otherwise you're gonna be the guy from what is it, Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy, thinking you're cool because you're playing this stuff, and everybody's going, you're pretty fly for a white guy, so this is probably one of my favorite songs, by the way. I love that song. I don't know, I'm an Offspring fanatic, so.
Oh no, they're good. It's a good song. So it's funny and true at the same time. So.
Yes, exactly. So I want to go into some of the deaths real quick, because we've kind of talked about them a little bit, but not really like, in depth. So the first person that dies, I believe, is now we can Wikipedia this to make sure of that stuff, but I think it was the list of deaths. So the first one to die, the station, okay. So the actual victims, hold on, wait. Hold on. So the premonition, I guess Thomas Burke was the first one to die in the premonition, but it says my car ran over her. What? These are out of order.
So the first one, I believe, is the guy who won the lottery.
Okay. Okay. And it's very confusing because I was like, wait, what? So Shayna, Dano, and Frankie are the three friends. The one friend was the pot guy or whatever. And then
Okay, so I guess you could call that the first one. Sure.
Yeah, those are the first three that died. Evan Lewis stabbed an eyeball by falling a fire escape ladder when he was in the, we were talking about it, the fire happening, and then inside his house, and then he escapes.
But see, that's where I go back to, is some of this stuff not death? Like, is it just people being klutz? Maybe they're klutzes, or they're
no, because there's some.
I mean, because some of these really seem like if you I don't know, put a pot on an oven and you have it turned on, and let's say there's a rag next to it, and you go to the bathroom.
No, because he put his hand in the he went down to pick up the thing, and the hand is in his disposal.
Like the watch or something came off.
Yeah, and he was going in the disposal and he got it stuck. And as he got it stuck, all the other stuff were happening, which is also, was that in the first movie with the girl, with the woman? I want to say with the teacher. Didn't she do something like this? She got something stuck in.
Well, her hair got stuck.
Yeah, her hair got stuck.
And it started pulling her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got scalped.
Yeah.
But he's the first. We think he makes it out, which is a kind of a funny thing with his reactions.
Yeah, because he kept thinking he was very lucky.
Yeah, and he makes it all the way out. He's constantly going like, Jesus Christ, he keeps going down and then slips on spaghetti, the spaghetti that he threw out the window.
Yeah, and he slipped on spaghetti, and then that thing falls down on
the
him.
Fire escape.
The fire escape
like
ladder,
the leg goes
ladder.
Right,
but at first it doesn't. First it just hits.
Yeah, it's like that far. It's like that.
Yeah, and then it goes like, then
that's when he's like, oh my God, I survived. And then
yeah. And Tim Carpenter, which was the little kid,
the dentist stuff first.
And the dentist stuff first, which is like pigeons flying at first. And he's there. They're like, well, we're going to give you the gas because the guy keeps, like he can't.
Yeah, because for some reason the pigeons keep flying into the window.
Well, and that was such a fucking piece of shit move, because in a way, because like she was like, I see pigeons, right? And stuff. And when she said, I see pigeons, he goes, they go to see the thing, and we see the pigeons attacking the thing. We're like, oh, that's what's going to happen, is the pigeons are going to attack or whatever. Pigeons had nothing to do with him being in the dentist chair and almost dying from the thing trying to choke him and everything.
Well, yes and no, because the dentist says that he's had to change that glass before. So the pigeons have hit into it before, hence that's why I keep thinking, does death really play into all of these? And then because he was going to take the needle, and every time the pigeon hit, he would like miss.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, okay, we're going to do the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then he puts the gas on, and then he has to leave because he's a horrible dentist. And for some reason, the dentist has all that shit hanging above him like a baby would have.
Right. What was like, what? Why?
I don't know. And then one of those things that, kind of looks like a rubber fish or something falls into his mouth, and he starts suffocating.
See, I mean, if I go back to my dentist and he has something like that up there, the first thing I'm going to say to him is get rid of that. Like, that's a hazard right there waiting to happen.
Yeah. But once again, that could fall off. That doesn't have to do, the dentist leaving doesn't have anything to do with death. And the thing falling could just be loose.
But
so it could fall.
It fell because you kind of see the next one sort of looking like it's going to fall. And I think that's death. I think that's got to be death.
I mean, it's meant to be, but I don't know. It's a weak way. And then the nurse comes in and just pulls it out. And of course, if I was the kid, I'd be like, I'm going to sue the shit out of you.
Right.
Is what I would have said.
He even said something that was so weird and so like he at one point he's like, if he puts the gas on me and I wake up with my pants down,
like he was getting molested.
Yeah, he was like, then we're gonna sue the crap out of this place or something. And I was like, we're like, kid, your mother's the one who's going to do anything. You have nothing to do with, like, once again, it's entitlement of like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm a kid. I'm, better than the doctors the dentists that are performing work on my freaking teeth.
Well, and you never know if there's somebody else in the office who hears the kid say that, they could sit there and go, wait a minute, does Dr. Jones, does Dr. Jones molest kids,
like,
and then that
yeah,
gets
like,
spread around,
yeah,
and
it's a
ruins his
nasty little
business or something.
rumor.
Yeah. So, and then the nurse pulls it out, they leave. And then, like I said at the beginning of this, the kid gets exactly what he deserves because he's a little shit. And he runs up to all those pigeons when it's clearly a construction area. And that guy, the construction guy, even says, hey, kid, knock that off. And that's when all the pigeons hit and the guy loses control. And the big piece of glass falls right on top of the kid, squashing him into oblivion.
Yeah. But see, yeah, once again, we are fooled because we think the pigeons are something to do with the glass, really, and it's really the pigeons that are on that he goes and fucks around with that are the things that kill him,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
it's a fake, which is fine because
It kind of
that's
bothers me a little bit when after it happens, I'm just like, okay, so
well,
what?
but it's just like the guy in the apartment. I mean, there was like 20 different things that was happening to him in there, and then he gets killed by the fire escape. So,
And then next was Nora Carpenter. That was the
head
mother.
head in the elevator.
Head pulled off by an elevator.
Which in that whole thing is kind of weird because then AJ Cook, and I don't know if I like because I don't think they did it in the first film, but they did continue it with the, I'm seeing something, and I don't know if I like that, but she sees hooks.
Oh, she did not. She did not see the hook. The other guy saw the hook.
Who saw?
So
oh, the Tommy Lee guy.
The Tommy Lee guy, he's Rory or whatever. He goes and he sees the hooks inside the closet. And he's just like, does that look like hooks to you? A man with hooks, to you? And they're like,
that's right.
Oh my God. And I'm like, wait, so now everybody sees these things, not just her?
Well, his was a shadow.
I know, but that was
right, but
obvious
it wasn't
there for
I would agree, but his was shadows while hers was premonitions.
In the first movie, it was shadows and premonitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like he had like the piece of paper that flew on him and stuff like that. Yeah,
but there was also shadows that there were shadows that showed him stuff, and then there was papers and stuff that showed him stuff. So there were things like that. So they did keep that going, but this time the shadow was seen by everybody, and I thought, I don't like that.
How do you even as a screenwriter? I mean, that somebody must have been in an elevator with a guy with like a box of like prosthetic arms,
right?
Because I mean, it's such a weird thing to put in there that it's like some Kramer reject is in there with a box of prosthetic arms, and bringing him up to his apartment, and then the mom her hair gets caught on them, and then he's like sniffing her hair.
Yeah, that was the
where I would have decked the guy, the Evan guy's just like, he mouths like, what the fuck? I mean, that guy should have been decked right there. But right. I mean, that is just really creepy. I mean, he should have died instead of the mom. But yeah, and then her head gets caught in the doors, and
that wasn't Death's plan.
Was it Death's plan to have him sniff her hair, or was that like
God's plan?
God's plan.
God was like,
my plan is to make you creepy and smell women's hair.
Hey, look, God has to make some people creepy in this world.
Child molesters.
Yeah. And so
I'm going to make X amount of people child molesters.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to win this conversation. Let's move on. Kat Jennings.
All I got to do is just keep naming bad things, but yeah, and her death is pretty good with her head, and then everybody's like covered in blood.
Yep, head by the elevator, head pulled off by an elevator, which that sounds cool in itself.
It's been
So
done before, but it's okay. I mean, Resident Evil did it, the first movie.
was that before Final Destination 2, I'm guessing? I'm guessing that Resident Evil was before Final Destination 2.
I think so. I mean, they probably weren't ripping each other off, or one probably wasn't ripping the other off, but just coincidence. It's been done before.
Okay.
But it looked cool.
Kat Jennings, who is the smoking lady, is impaled through the back of the forehead on a sharpened pipe when her airbag went off.
Okay, once again, is that death? Because that's just an accident. That's the guy being a smartass, the fireman, and he shouldn't be shoving it in, because in my first head-on collision, they had to use one of those, the jaws of death, to get my door open. And they don't shove it in like that. They put it in.
I almost felt like he did that
open
because she was being a bitch to him.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah,
so
totally.
he did that like just he was like,
so he should be brought up on murder charges. He should be in jail for murder.
He basically did murder her,
Yeah. Can you imagine what his life was like after that? If we could see his character outside of the movie, like him just at home going, I fucking murdered somebody. All because she was,
I didn't
all
mean
because
to
she
do
was being a
that.
smartass. Yeah.
I was just trying to prove my point. Oh my God. Like, I
She's being,
totally get it. So that happened.
which is a pretty good death. So, and then that had her drop the cigarette, which then went down that broken pipe.
Right. And then caused
the van, the TV van blew up.
Yep. And then Rory Peters, the Tommy Lee guy, was sliced into 3 pieces by flying metal fence. So that was pretty fucking cool.
But before that, he saved the kid.
He did save the kid.
Yeah.
Which I said that after I said that. I said, did he just save that kid's life from the death that he was supposed to have? So brings a good question up. Morally, question. When you go and save somebody's life, and maybe if they were supposed to die at that time, are you helping the person, or are you like just delaying the inevitable? Like is it? See, this never happens to as far as we know, this never happens to anybody else. But if like I go and I save you out of your head-on collision, say I actually pull you out before like a truck hits something, and you were going to get, if I didn't do that and I didn't pull you out, that thing would have happened. Are you going to die in, a couple days later because, death is like,
well, knowing what happened with Claire, yeah, I mean, eventually it would come back around to me. But I was kind of thinking, using your idea, is he's not a good person. He's not a good guy. So he seems to have some sort of redemption. He wants his computer wiped of porn, so his mom's not disappointed, and then he saves the kid's life. It's like maybe that redeems him in some sort of way, that he doesn't die.
But you did.
Right, but I'm saying maybe that's what they should have done, or something like that. Is that it's, you saved yourself, or you saved somebody else's life. You weren't being selfish, because he was being selfish throughout the whole movie. I mean, that's the big thing. And if you've ever seen This Is the End, that film with like James Franco and all those guys,
when he starts going, fuck
yeah, and then
like,
God stops the beam,
and he's like, nope,
and
we're
he
not
drops
you up anymore.
Yeah, and it's because it's not he's selfish.
Yep.
But then when Seth Rogen lets his buddy go, and he goes, "You're not going to make it. I'm going to let go of you, and I'll die." God sends the second beam to pull him up, even though they're clearly not good people at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Like
so everybody is not good. That's actually a good movie we should review at some point.
I love that film.
I do too. It's that's like, because of my religious beliefs and everything, it sort of pokes fun at it, but in a way it also brings up good spiritual questions. like that, like is the whole point of going up to heaven or whatever, because you're a good person, or whatever. And can you get saved by helping somebody, by being better, by being a better person? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we'll talk about that on another time if we ever do another show like that. So the guy gets sliced into 3 pieces by a flying metal fence. That was a cool death. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But as you said, he probably should have been saved or something.
Yeah, there should have been some, or maybe it skips him for a little bit because he does a good deed.
Yeah, but I don't know. Would that be very easy to understand that at that time? Would we have known that if
no, you would have to have some sort of explanation, like they did in This Is the End. They read the Bible and they kind of talk it out, and they figure things out. Like, yeah, like you can't be selfish, or you have to do self-sacrifice, and so it's so yeah, so you'd have to explain it, but I mean, I guess somebody could have said, like, if it did skip him, like, dude, you weren't a dick, you actually saved somebody, death skipped you over, and then he could be all like, yeah, I rock, and then he dies or something like that.
Yep. And then Clear and Eugene both are incinerated when the oxygen tank exploded. We talked about that earlier.
Right.
And then Brian Gibbons, who was the kid who got pulled away,
that was hilarious. I remember in the theater, I died.
I forgot about it
so hard when
I was
happened.
just like, yes, like, I hate to say, like, I don't wish people death or whatever, but like that death just was sort of out of nowhere in a way, because I was like, who is this family they're with? Like, why are they with these people? I forgot.
Well, yeah, it's like everybody died on their property,
right?
And now they're back there having
like
hamburgers,
they're
having a barbecue,
having a cookout, and they got the one guy got cooked.
But I still question the cop, though. I get AJ Cook, I get that, because she died and they brought her back. So, and then there's the baby being born, and there was all that type of stuff. But it's like, the cop should not be alive.
So it says that between Final Destination 2 and 3, that Kimberly and Sheriff Thomas Burke are both killed in a wood chipper accident.
What is this, like, made up?
No, this is on Wiki. This is like, apparently, I'm guessing this was explained in part 3. Maybe they do, if they show like a clips or something, I don't know.
No,
but that's exactly what it says. So they're killed in a wood chipper accident. Let me see.
I mean, maybe they just say it and I missed it, but when I watched 3, is they mostly bring up part 1. They look at, there's newspaper articles for part 1. And then they look at there's like a newspaper under it. And that's where they mention part 2. But it's very brief. It's almost like each film kind of wanted to get away from the sequels and only mention the first one.
Okay, so there is on YouTube, there's a person named Frosty Panda. I'll give her a shout out. Never heard of her. But Frosty Panda goes into what happened to Kimberly and Officer Burke. And so she does a little spoiler thing about basically what happens, and apparently I believe it is a wood chipper. So let me see. Yeah, so apparently there is a survivors of the deadly crash die in bizarre accident. There is a little news thing, and it says family wood chipper to blame, so they both did die. It is in a newspaper thing.
I'll have to rewatch it
now. I can't wait to watch part 3 because I want to see that, because I got really excited when you told me Spoiler alert, you told me, because I was really kind of like, oh, I didn't remember that in part two there is that newspaper clipping saying what happened to Alex, you know. And so I'm like thinking it's in the very beginning of the film where they're, going through all the different stuff or whatever, but it's when when Sheriff Burke is going through the stuff to find out about Flight 180, and so he goes through all the newspaper clippings and he finds out that Alex died from a brick over his head, brick on his head, which he
Well,
thought
and
was hilarious.
there's also in the second one is they do go through, there's the pictures of all of them on the news when they
Right.
talk about the anniversary, and he's the very last one, and it says brick.
Brick.
Brick, like death by brick or just brick. All of them are bad, like hit by bus, decapitation, brick.
Yeah. Decapitation, brick.
Brick.
Sounds about right. And Clear, I mean, she was trying so hard just to stay alive, and she was doing
But
the
you know what's funny about that? In her room, how are
yeah.
those things being held up on the wall? They were push pins. They were like thumbtacks.
So you think that Death would have used the thumbtack to kill her?
Yeah, because I was looking at him going, is that tape? What is that? Is that, why? And you could see like they're different colors.
Yeah. So
So
you
like
said that she would have died, and somehow if Death really wanted to get her, right?
yeah, I don't think a padded room would have. I mean, somehow she still would have slipped and hit her head on. There's no toilet in there. I noticed that. There's no
Well,
way.
she would have had
So
to leave the room to go get a toilet, and she
yeah,
could she could have died. Like, I mean, Death was just like, hey, I'm waiting. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna get this chick. It's happening. It's just it might take a little while, but I'm getting her. You know.
yeah.
Um,
It's like when that person goes, "Oh God, pardon me." Oh my God, Jonathan, you're boring. The bad law, horrible, that asleep. Yeah, it's like when that guy goes, "I'm gonna get you. You don't know when and you don't know how, but one day I'm gonna get you."
yeah, that suspense of like, when is it gonna happen? Because you're thinking the whole time you're watching the movie. If you hadn't seen it in a while, you're like thinking to yourself, all right, I know Clear dies, but when? When does Clear die? So I remember that. Like I remember that she died. I just don't remember how, and
So
everything.
now it's looking at all the other movies to see if who survives at the end, but is not in the film afterwards, to see if there's any mention on how they died in between movies.
Actually, I can tell you that.
Huh?
Yeah, they have all of these things. So I'm guessing in part three, everybody died. So, all right, because it does not say between
I'm going to say yes to that.
and everybody died in part five too, because that was the ending of the movie, right? Wasn't that like the setup? They all get on the plane.
Yeah, it wraps
Yeah.
around to the first
Yeah.
film. Yeah.
So I guess this was the only one where they survived, other than the first movie. They survived and then they died, which I don't know. Maybe was AJ Cook on Criminal Minds at that time, that she just for part three, and there she was just like, sorry, can't come back for part three, even to do even to play the Clear part, or Officer Burke, what is he doing? Like, why
Well,
can't
and that maybe that's the thing, is that you sit there and say, yeah, I don't want to go back. I got something better to do. You guys aren't going to pay me what I want. And you get killed by a brick. Or you say, yeah, you know what? I'll come back. Thank you. I'll do like an extended cameo. Sure. And then like Clear does. And then, you get incinerated. You get this giant explosion
Yep.
that takes you out. And then you have the two survivors from part two. They're like, hey, we're going to make a part three. Do one of you guys want to come back, or both? And they're like, no, we got TV stuff to do or whatever. We got to do that. Oh, okay. We'll just find some lame way for you to die. Wood chipper. You both died of wood chipper.
That's not. I mean, that's just weird.
It's funny, but it's lazy to say that it's that they both die in a wood chipper.
Right.
I mean, what, she fell into it and he tried dragging her out, but she pulled him in, so they both died at the same time.
I just want to see that death. Like, why didn't they shoot that? Like, at least, and
There should be
stuff
like
because
web episodes where like they have other people go out and shoot these deaths.
if they do Final Destination 6, they need to do that because like nowadays with like the world of like the connecting universes and stuff like that, cinematic universes, Marvel, DC, all that stuff. Final Destination would be perfect for that sort of thing where there's like there's the movie, then there's a webisodes that tie up stuff, then there's comics, and then maybe there's a Final Destination TV show that just, whatever. And you could do that with that franchise because people love Final Destination, would love to see more content from it. I don't understand why it's even taking this long to put the next Final Destination out there, unless they just can't figure out how to do it right, or something,
Here, I'll give them an idea. A ship. I've already said it. A ship. I've thought of a ship for years.
Cruise ship.
I've always wondered why they would not do a ship. You have a group of people that are going onto a ship for an anniversary. Could be a celebration. It could be a graduation. It could be whatever. They're partying on the ship. The ship explodes. Everybody dies for various ways. And then they get pulled off the ship.
So this would be Final Destination 6 Cruise Control.
Oh, no, because that's the name of Speed 2.
Which also took place on
a ship. A ship.
Just saying.
A ship.
Just saying. That was terrible.
It was, but it didn't explode.
It's true.
Jason Goes to Manhattan was also one, or Jason Takes Manhattan is
Jason Goes to Manhattan.
Jason Goes to Manhattan.
That's
he wanted to go see a play.
Yeah,
always wanted to hang out on Broadway. Well, he kind of did.
It would have been great if he went to a play. I would have loved to see that. I've talked to a lot of people. That's my favorite Friday the 13th, period. A lot of people hate it.
Takes Manhattan?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Are you
It's
serious?
got a very, very special place in my heart. Yes. It does.
It's got a very special place in my bowel movements.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of people go, it's got a really good place in hell. But I absolutely, yeah. It's like the first Friday the 13th I ever fully watched. It's I've loved it. I love the comedy in it. I love everything. I know a lot of people hate it, but I'm
going to pray for you tonight. I'm going to convert and pray for you tonight.
Jason Takes Manhattan. If you go to my letterbox, you'll see my favorite films for horror film lovers, and it's like Scream, and it's was it I think, I don't know if Nightmare on Elm Street, probably Nightmare on Elm Street's up there, something like that, and then it's Jason Takes Manhattan is up there, and and Evil Dead. But Evil Dead's a great movie.
Those films shouldn't even be up there. That's like saying your favorite Halloween is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, or Silent Night, Deadly Night 4.
No,
those can't be your favorite ones. You can't.
What, the Evil Dead?
Well,
no.
No, the Evil Dead and those should not be in that category
along with Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, but you should never say that certain sequels are your favorite.
No, because the first Friday the 13th is not that good, dude. It really
it's not.
It's not.
No, my favorite Friday the 13th is part 2.
Really?
And then part 7. It's like tied with part 7.
A lot of people say part 4.
Amy Steele, man. It's all about Amy Steele.
But I love 8. I don't know. Don't judge me.
Oh, I will judge you.
You can, you know what? Judge me all you want. I don't care. Never mind. I don't care. It would be like saying my favorite Final Destination is part, I don't know, 4, I guess.
Well, that would be, yeah, if I had to rate these, that would be the one that you would put in there. Along with what you just said.
Yeah, because it is probably the worst of them all, but it's just,
We'll get more into that because when I watched it, I was amazed because I loved it when I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get more into that. You know, we've been here for like 2 hours.
Has it been 2 hours already?
It's
Almost.
after 10.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Or what's it? Yeah, what time did we start? Yeah, at least an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, I think it's an hour and a half because I think we
So
almost started.
before we sign off, what is your favorite death?
What is my bar none, the thing that falls down on the kid,
That's easy. Mine too. What about second?
Second will be a more harder one to think. Wood chipper. It's gotta be wood chipper.
Wood chipper.
No.
That's Final Destination 2.5.
2.5 that we never saw.
I know what my number 2 is, so I know it instantly.
I mean, technically it never happened, but my favorite death would be the log. Period. Because that was fucking awesome.
Well, I guess you could count that. It doesn't have to be real or not. It's just a good death scene.
It was a cool death scene. It looked great, and it should have happened. And might have happened to another person. It just wasn't the officer because
that fire looked painful. That they did a good job at that with the guy burning in the car.
Yeah. So
because I mentioned this earlier with like 9/11 where I said, they realized that fire is the most painful way to die because people jumped. They'd be at the highest point and they felt instead of burning to death, I would rather jump to my death.
And just die.
And that's where they came to the conclusion that fire is by far the worst way to die. And so I always think about that when I see movies with people on fire. My second one is the barbecue. Just because it was so unexpected and just it's just a great far away shot and you just seeing the kid there and he just explodes.
I would say the elevator, but the elevator is just too common. So I don't know. It's my favorite.
Tommy Lee being all cut up.
Yeah, I liked him being cut up. He was cool, but I did like the airbag because I did not expect
that's
that.
pretty good. Yeah, that was another one unexpected.
So I was just like, wait, what? And then when the airbag thing happened, I was just like, oh shit, the airbag just came up. But then you hear, you're like, oh shit, there was more to that.
And airbags are they may save our lives at times. In this case, it took a life. But I at first wondered because her like the pipe thing is like here.
Mm-hmm.
So if the airbag went off, her head would just go like that past the pipe. Why, it wouldn't be in the pipe. So she would have to move her head and then have it go into the pipe. But since I have been in 2 head-on collisions and airbagged twice, both with this hand, it broke my finger and it broke my arm. I have a very large scar down here from surgery. So even holding on to the steering wheel, when that airbag went off,
mm-hmm.
it broke my arm on the second one and broke my finger on the first one. So that's where I kind of changed my mind with her that, okay, I guess the impact of the bag could probably move her head that way. Because it also took my glasses off. Like it hit me so hard, my glasses flung to the back seat.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, that's airbags are good and bad at the same time.
Good and bad,
Yeah.
They're scary. I'm glad it's never come out of my steering wheel ever yet.
You got to be hit pretty hard.
Yeah, knock on wood. I knock on wood. I always do that. So yeah, there was one time that I wanted to go knock on wood and I realized it wasn't wood and I was like, oh shit.
Don't knock on it.
Yeah, don't knock on that. All right, so I did my rating already on Letterboxd. And what I know last one we both gave 4 to Final Destination.
4 out of 5, right? Yeah.
4 out of 5. I gave the same for Final Destination 2. I did not go lower on this one. I feel like it's almost up on the same par as the first one. That it was a lot of fun and enjoyable.
I'm gonna give it 3.5.
You're gonna give it 3.5. I'm not.
And my reason for that is I've seen this film a couple times now, and I just don't like the end stuff with like the van going into lake and all that.
Right.
I just, for some reason, whenever that, like, I love everything else, and then when he gets to that hospital, I'm like, we got to go through the van going into the water, and I don't want to do. For some reason, I just don't like that. I just don't. I don't know.
Okay.
It just bugs me for some reason. So that's why I'm going to dock it.
Okay. Dock it.
Dock it.
See, there you go. Well, there we go. So everybody, I give it a 4 again. He gave it a 3.5. Fair. That's a fair score for both of us. We'll be back with Final Destination 3. Was it Final Destination 3D?
I don't think 3 was in 3D. I think 4 and 5 were in 3D.
Should have been Final Destination 3D. They lost the, Jaws 3D and Friday 13th Part 3. Which actually Friday the 13th Part 3 had really cool 3D stuff that I like their glasses.
And a great disco theme song.
Yeah. I wasn't that that wasn't the one where it looked like it wasn't the one where it didn't look like James Bond. That was like Part 6 or something.
No, that's 6. That was the spoof. Yeah. Where he cuts the eye.
Yeah.
Instead of shooting the gun.
A little silly.
Hey, it works.
Hey, I like that one.
To be the best one.
I like that one too. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Check us out next week for another brand new episode.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep going.
We're gonna keep going. And then also check out First Time Watch Fridays that I'm doing every Friday. I've got some fun stuff happening. Got some good ones. And then I'll be bringing back Wildcard Wednesdays probably in the fall, because right now I'm I'm a little busy, but I do have plans for later for bringing some more stuff back in the fall. So expect more horror in the fall. And until then,
well, wait, and then you and I have Wonder Woman. Our review of Wonder Woman 1984 coming out too, so
which will be out this Friday. Last Friday.
Well, last Friday. Yeah. We're recording this. We're ahead.
We're ahead.
But yeah, anybody who's watching this who likes us, going back and forth, check out on my YouTube channel. Check out the 2 filmmakers reviewing one film, and it's Wonder Woman 1984. So
nice. That was fun. Can't wait to. We're like Siskel and Ebert.
Yep.
I don't know which one is which. I mean,
well, I'm overweight, so I'm probably Ebert and you're Siskel, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then you have hair and I don't.
I'm also losing my hair, so I don't know.
So maybe you got some Siskel going there.
I got some Siskel going. I really don't want to be losing hair.
You just shave it.
I could, but then that's the same as losing hair.
But that's fine.
That's on my terms, but I'm just saying I don't want to.
The ladies like the shaved head, so it's very in these days. It's been for a while.
Some ladies do. I'm sure some ladies like almost anything these days. But
that's a whole different thing, I guess.
That's a whole different conversation. So there you go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Wow, like we're almost 2 hours and you guys are still listening to us. That's incredible. Thank you.
We hope so. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So, or we are probably past 2 hours by now. So thank you guys for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And tell us what you thought of Final Destination 2. Bye.
Bye.